Hello students, in this session we'll be studying about the centralized and the client server DBMS architecture. First we will stick on to centralized DBMS. Centralized DBMS is nothing but it's a DBMS software wherein we are going to have each and everything in a single place. Right? It combines everything into single system including DBMS software. Then we have hardware, application programs, and user interface program, processing software. Everything is centralized over here. User can still connect through a remote terminal. However, all processing is done at the centralized site. Right? Whatever is requested, it will be served from the centralized site, and we can have a lot of terminals, remote terminals. You can consider an example of a physical centralized architecture. Here you can see we have a topmost part which are nothing but the dummy terminals. Right, these are the terminals through which we are going to request some information, and from a centralized site we are getting each and every work done. Right, you can see the lower portion which is having a software, then operating system, hardware, and the firmware. Right, now in software we are going to have application programs, terminal display control systems, text editors, DBMS, compilers, everything is being placed in the software. Right, then we have operating system which is going to control all the things like CPU, memory, disk, IO devices, printers, tape, drives. Right, all these are example of IO devices. Right, so everything is being controlled from this operating system. You can see over here everything is centralized. Right, in a single place we are going to have all the functionalities to be done. Right, so this is a physical centralized architecture. Then we can see basic two-tier client server architecture. It is having specialized servers with specialized functions like print server, which is going to help us in printing the documents and all. Then we want to handle some files, then we can make use of file servers. Then DBMS related thing like insertion, deletion, updation. Whenever we are going to make use of all these things, we can make use of DBMS server. Then regarding web, we can make use of web server. Then when we are sending and receiving email, we can make use of email server, wherein we are going to have a specialized servers which does the work that is required by us. Right, clients can access the specialized servers as needed. Whenever they require something, then they can make use of uh, a particular server which does their job. This is a logical two-tier client server architecture. We can see at the top we are going to have a lot of clients and they are connected through a network, and below we can see there are specific servers. Right, if we want to print something, print a document, then print servers are going to do a job for us. Right, then if you want to delete a file or we want to check the content of that, then we can make use of file server. And then if you want to deal something related to a database querying, then we can make use of DBMS server. Right, each server is having its own functionality to be done. Clients, what do we mean by client provides, what are the things that we are going to have at the client is clients provide appropriate interfaces through a client software module to access and utilize the various server resources. Then clients may be diskless machines or PCs or workstations with disk with only the client software installed. Okay, there are various kind of PCs, we can see it later. Then these clients are connected to the servers via some form of a networking. We can make use of either a LAN, that is local area network, or we can go for wireless networking of the various clients and the servers. Then regarding the DBMS server, right, provides DBMS server provides database query and transaction services to the clients. Whatever query is being sent from a client side, it will be processed at the server. Then the uh, answer is being generated and it will be given back as a processed information to the clients. Relational DBMS servers are often called SQL servers or query servers or the transaction servers. API, that is application program interface, are being used over here. Right, whenever a client is requesting something, that has to be reached to a server. Right, for having a connection we can make use of application program interface. And if you're making use of Java language, right, programming language, then you can make use of JDBC as a API, or else if you are making use of other languages, then you can make use of ODBC, that is Open Database Connectivity Standard, for having a connection between your client and the server. Client and server must install appropriate client module and the server module software for ODBC or JDBC connections. This is a physical two-tier client-server architecture. As we have already discussed, we are going to have many kind of systems. First one is a system which is a diskless client. Here it is only used for displaying the information. Then we have client with disk. This client is having a capability to store some information because it is having a database, right? Client with disk. Then we have a server. The thing is, server has a disk which wherein we can store something and we can give that information to the clients whenever they request for. Then we can have server and a client in the same machine, right? Server, it does both work. It can be worked as a server, right? Whenever some clients are requesting some information, then this will be acting as a server. And if this machine requires some information, then it can be treated as a client which is requesting some information from some other server, and everything is being communicated through a network. Then three-tier client-server architecture. Whenever we make use of some web applications, this we are going with three-tier client-server architecture. Two-tier architecture is not supported for the web applications. Here we are making use of intermediate layer called application server for web servers. It stores the web connectivity software and the business logic part of the application used to access the corresponding data from the database server. And this layer acts like a conduit for sending partially processed data between the database server and the client. And apart from this, why we are making use of three-tier client-server architecture is it enhances the security, because database server only is accessible via this middle tier. Clients cannot directly access database server content. This is an logical three-tier client-server architecture with a couple of commonly used nomenclatures. You can see here we have three layers. Right at the top we have client, at the middle we have client server or the web server, we can call it as anything. Then we have database server. Whenever client is requesting some information from a database server, directly we will not have a connection between client and a database server. Client requests something and this request will be processed at this application server or the web server. Then it is going to redirect to the database server, and whatever the process information we are receiving from the database server, it reaches the application server. Then from this application server or the web server, we are getting back the information to the client. In the same way, you can see the figure wherein we have at the top we have graphical user interface or the web interface through which the clients are requesting something. Then it reaches the application programs or the web pages. Then from there it is going to reach the data at the database management system, and the data is being fetched up and it will be delivered at the web interface. And other way of considering these three client server architecture is we have presentation layer, business or logic layer, and at the bottom we have a database service layer. At the presentation layer, we are going to present the things. Whatever the result we get from the database service, it is being presented to the user in a different view format, right? And in the middle, we have a business logic layer, which is acting as a security purpose, right? Whenever client requests something, first it is going to be authenticated, whether it is coming from a correct user, right? Whether he is the intended user, whether he can be given a access to the database which is present at the lower level or not. Everything is being taken care by this business logic layer. And at the bottom we have database service layer, which is having all the functionality of DBMS, right? That is insertion, deletion, anything is possible at the database service layer. Now we'll see what are the various ways in which we can classify the DBMS, right? We have various ways. First one is based on the data model used, whether it is a traditional one In traditional, we have relational, network, and hierarchical model. And in the emerging models, we have object-oriented and object relational model. Then other way of classifying the DBMS is whether based on the users, right? Whether it is single user, that is whether this DBMS is by the single person or many people are going to use it, right? That is a multi-user system. Then we have a centralized, right? Uses a single computer with one database, or whether it's a distributed, wherein it uses multiple computers, multiple databases, right? This is the other way of having a classification of the DBMS. Then other variation of distributed DBMS are DDBMS is nothing but distributed DBMS. Homogeneous DDBMS is nothing but if we are having a multiple DBMS at the multiple sites, if it is distributed one, if you are making use of same DBMS software everywhere, like MySQL, if you are using MySQL everywhere, if you are using a MySQL DBMS, then it's a homogeneous, right? A heterogeneous is nothing but it's a kind of distributed database management system wherein we are going to have information present at the various databases. We are making use of multiple databases, and the DBMS software that is used at the multiple location is a different one. That is a heterogeneous. Then we have federated or multi-database system, wherein we are going to have again a database system wherein whatever the information that is present in the various databases, it is localized for the particular database. That is, we can have more number of owners for that, right? Then distributed database system have now come to be known as client server based database, because they do not support a totally distributed environment, but rather a set of database servers supporting a set of clients. And based on cost also, we can have a different kind of DBMS. Cost range from free open source system to the configurations costing millions of dollars. Examples of free relational DBMS are MySQL, PostgreSQL, and others. And commercials wherein we have to pay the money is like Oracle, right? They offer some additional specialized modules. Example like time series module, spatial data module, document module, XML module, all these things. They are adding some functionality. For that functionality, we have to purchase those DBMS, right? And Oracle is an example of a commercial DBMS. And apart from that, we can have different licensing options. Based on these different licensing options also, we can go for having a differentiation between the various DBMS. Site license, at one site we can have a single licensing and maximum, and based on the maximum number of concurrent users, that is at a time how many users can be using this DBMS. Based on that, we can also differentiate a database or a single user. If we are giving single key for a particular DBMS, then it becomes a single user DBMS. Now let us have a glance at the history of data models. We have relation model, object-oriented data models, object relational, then big data model, then XML models, then network model, and hierarchical model. Relational model, it was proposed in 1970 by E.F. Codd, right, of IBM. It was the first commercial system in 1981 to 82. Now in several commercial products, it is available in different products like DB2, Oracle, MS, SQL Server, Sybase, Informix. So these are the various commercial products of this RDBMS. Then we have open source like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and currently most dominant for developing database applications. Everyone is making use of this RDBMS for their development purpose. And we have various standards like SQL 89, 92, 99, SQL 3, all the things. And the basic thing in this DBMS is it represents a database as a collection of tables where each table can be stored as a separate file. This is regarding the relational model. Then we have object data model. This model defines a database in terms of objects. We are assuming everything as an object, and their properties is being recorded, and what are the operations that we can have on an object is being recorded. Objects with the same structure and behavior belong to a class, and these classes are organized into hierarchies, right? We can make use of a cyclic graph for representing these objects, and the operations of each class are specified in terms of predefined procedures called methods. Then we have object relational models. object relation models are nothing but models wherein we are going to take some information like something from the relational models and something from an object model, and we are going to club these two things and we will be getting a new model, and that's nothing but a object relational model. And examples of this object relational model are Oracle, TenI, DB2, SQL Server, and other DBMS. Then we have big data systems, and big data systems are based on the various data models with the following four data models which are most common. First one is key value data model that associates a unique key with each value. Whenever we are having this a particular value, key value, we can get to know what information is present over there. So that is a key value based method of big data systems. Then we have document data model is based on JSON, that is JavaScript object notation, and it stores the data as documents, which sometimes resembles complex objects. Then we have graph model that stores objects as graph nodes, and relationships among objects are explained in terms of directed graph edges. Finally, we have column-based data models that store the columns of rows clustered on disk pages for fast access and allow multiple versions of the data. And then we have a network model. A network model, it was the first model that was developed, and it was developed in the year 1964 to 65 by the Honeywell company, right? And it has been adopted heavily due to the support by the Codicil, right? Now it is being used in multiple companies like HP, Image, all this thing. Everyone are making use of this network model. You can see over here, this is a network model wherein we have tables like student, grade report, course, section, and prerequisite, which is network. Student, there is a network from student to grade report, and from section to grade report, from course to section. So this is how the network model can be explained. Then we have advantages. Network model is able to model complex relationships and represent semantics of add, delete. Easily we can add or delete the things, and it can handle most situations for modeling using record types and relation types. Programmers do optimal navigation through this database. Then the disadvantage of having a network model is its navigational and procedural nature of processing. And apart from that, here we are making use of complex array of pointers that thread through a set of records. And other thing is little scope for automated query optimization. We cannot easily optimize the various queries. Then we have hierarchical data model. It was initially implemented in a joint effort by IBM and the North American Rockwell around 1965. It resulted in the IMS family of system. Right, IBM's IMS product had a very large customer base worldwide. Many customers were there for this IBM's product, and hierarchical model was formalized based on the IMS system, which was developed by the IBM, right? And other systems that are based on this hierarchical model are System 2K. And advantages, again, it is simple to construct and operate. It corresponds to a number of naturally hierarchically organized domains. For example, organization chart we can have, and language is very simple like get unique, all these things. But the disadvantages similar to the network model, navigation and procedural nature of processing. Database is visualized as a linear arrangement of records. Again, it's a disadvantage. And the other disadvantage is little scope for query optimization. Okay, thank you.